everyone, this is Carter. It is October 7th here in Dayton, the day after the last day to register to vote in Ohio. So I thought I'd today talk about a few of the voter registration stories I have from yesterday in the bad neighborhood that I made it out of, thankfully. So the first is about a guy who went into an apartment complex, pretty nasty rundown apartment complex, half of them probably abandoned or just not abandoned, but just not there, no one living there. Knocked on a door and a guy shut it down from a second story window. You know, who's there? Who's that? What do you want? He said, my name is Carter, I'm a volunteer with the Barack Obama campaign. And immediately, you know, his demeanor changed and he was like, oh, you know, I'm gonna come down right now and sign up. I gotta sign up. He didn't really even know what he needed to do. He thought he could vote right there at first, and I sort of told him, you know, look, you gotta register to vote. This is a man who was 57 years old, had never registered, had never voted, and he could barely even write his own name, and he was gonna come hell or high water vote for Barack Obama. So I'm glad I got to, you know, get to him in time to register him. The second was sort of a multiple registrant story. He was walking down in this neighborhood and got to the house at the end of a row, and there was like 3 or 4 people in the house that was supposed to, you know, talk to, have a role of people who are supposed to talk to registered voters. And anywhere from, like, you know, in the mid 60s to 18, 19. And I thought it was a mistake just because, like, it would be a rare, I think it would, you know, it seems like there shouldn't be that many people of the same, of that different ages living in the same house. But sure enough, it was a family and his kids. And this guy immediately lit up when he saw me, and he's like, you know, big fan. He went inside, got a hat, and he told me how, you know, his kids were all registered, and sure enough, he had like a 19-year-old kid and a 21-year-old kid, and they were both there. They were both registered. And then he told me, he pointed to his another daughter of his who had just had her own baby, and she had just turned 18 and just had her own baby about a month ago, and she needed to get registered. He's like, you gotta register her. So she starts to register. Another lady who from the neighborhood was over to see the baby needed to register, so she started registering. And there was a third woman that had come over, and the older guy said, you know, Missy, you need to register. And she was like, you know, I can, kind of something. I sort of like was sort of shy and embarrassed, and like, you know, I can't vote. And he guy said, oh, okay, he seemed to get what she was saying, and I had an idea what she was worried about, so I asked her, I said, you know, why can't you vote? And she said, well, I was convicted of, and I cut her off right there and said, it doesn't matter. In Ohio, you can vote. And it's true, Ohio is one of 12 states, along with the District of Columbia, that allows convicted felons to vote. So, you know, she was out of jail, that's all you have to be, really, and not have any outstanding fines from your court proceedings, and she registered right there, and she was shocked and thrilled. And, you know, for me, a lot of people are like, oh, you know, if you're a felon, if you commit a crime, like, you should never vote, you know, that I don't like that. I think that, you know, we should always err on the side of franchising someone. I think that voting is important enough that, you know, you really you shouldn't be taken away. You know, if you commit a crime and then you go to jail and you serve and you come back out, I think the very first thing that people should be doing is getting involved in civics and doing things like voting, because otherwise, you know, it just takes them out of society, which is the last thing you want to do with criminals. You know, that's one thing that they show is that, you know, recidivity rate goes up when you force criminals and former criminals out of normal life, because they feel like they got nowhere to go but back to jail. So it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And so yeah, that was great. And the other thing about, you know, Ohio is that because it's a swing state, there's been a pretty well documented effort by some conservative groups to push this false notion that felons in Ohio cannot vote just because of the demographics. I'm sure this woman, I don't know, like, be fairly positive that she was convicted of a, you know, a nonviolent drug crime, which is what, you know, 90% of people in jail these days, something like that, are nonviolent drug offenders. And she was a very small, normal woman. I don't think she was knocking off any banks. So you look at the demographics of people like that, the nonviolent drug offenders, they're going to vote from a demographic standpoint and a statistical standpoint more Democratic. So there has been definitely a well-documented push in states like Ohio and others that do allow felons to vote to tell them they're not allowed, which I can't stand that. I just cannot stand that. It just, disenfranchising people is one of the things that drives me crazy. I've just seen too many people go off and fight, and know too many people have gone off and fight for this country, and to have people's right to vote taken away. Anyways, and then the other nice thing was that the 18-year-old daughter who had just had her own baby registered to vote, and it was great. The third one, which is kind of funny, was knocked on this door, and this little short little guy, I mean, he was like 4 feet tall, opened the door, had like he reminded me of the guy from House of Pain, only much smaller. And he was registered. He's like, I'm all the way, don't worry. And he was 19, and he had what looked like his wife and his little baby inside on the couch. I was like, well, would you like to get registered? And she didn't want to register. And, you know, I didn't push her too hard, but, you know, it was sad not to see her register. But, you know, this is an enthusiasm story. He was very calm at the door, but as soon as, like, I walked away from the door, it was actually a screen door that shut, so I could hear him perfectly. Just, the screen door shuts, and he just goes, what did he say? It was just like, he goes, that's right, bitches, at Barack Obama, we're gonna get him, and we're gonna get him in. And he was so excited about Barack Obama. Like, it was just such a funny thing to hear him being like, that's right, bitches, like, he's coming, Barack's coming. It was great. It was very funny to hear. It was great to hear that enthusiasm, and we had a good day. Registered probably 5 or 6 other voters in addition to those 3 or 4, but those were the best of the lot. So registration is now over. Now on to just getting out the vote. So thanks for watching. And hey, if you're watching these and you want to share them on, you know, I put these on my Facebook profile and stuff. If you want to share them on your Facebook profile, you know, please do. That'd be great. The more people that can see someone get involved and maybe get involved themselves on either side of the ticket, I think is a good thing. So thanks.